UNHCR is okay. Okay. And second one, to add the Department of Political and Peace Affairs. Any objections? 1, 2, adopted. Of the, okay, already correct. C, assessing the necessity of any arms embargo placement to reduce the weaponization of junta parties. Any objections? 1, 2, adopted. 5, condemning all matter of sanctions or political, social, and / or financial limitations placed by other member states to Myanmar. Any objections? Okay, who? Yeah. Okay, yes, China. Manner, all manners. Okay, thank you.
Is there any substantial amendment there?
Any other? Okay. Yes.
The word other in the between or and political.
Between or sanctions, all manners of sanctions, or other. Okay, other. Is that right? Okay. Any other? 1, 2. Can wait? Sorry, Nigeria. Strike the whole clause. Okay. Yes, USA. Change condemn to considering. Condemn to consider. Consider. Okay, wait. Okay, so we'll vote on the first degree of amendment to strike the whole clause 5. Any objections to strike the clause 5? Vetoed. Okay. Will not be strike. Yeah, to change the word condemning to considering. Any objections to that? Vetoed by China. Condemn. Okay. Yes. To add the other political words there. Any objections? 1, 2. Okay. Clause 6. Requesting the analytical support team to study the conflict and to provide recommendations within 9 months of the adoption of this resolution to the committee to determine whether or not updating those exemptions is required. Any objections, amendments? 1, 2, Myanmar?
Change the question to responsible.
Okay, request. Grammatical purposes. Any other? 1, 2, none other. So requests, I think there should not be any objections because it's only grammatical. Adopted. 7, request help bring, what? Request help bring about a reduction of tension on the streets by requesting solely or in conjunction with UN partners that political prisoners detained since February 1st be released. Any amendments? No. 1, 2. Oh, Myanmar?
Change the word help into an assistance.
Request assistance in bring. Wait. Yeah.
Can someone find whose mic is that?
Mine is on. Okay. So, requests assistance in bringing. Is that correct? Wait. Yes, assistance in bringing. Bringing, yeah. Bringing. I think assistance with a CE. CE. In bringing about, okay. But the. Change a reduction to the reduction. Okay, is that all? Is that correct? Okay. Wait, before that, any other changes? 1, 2, no other changes?
Wait.
Oh, okay.
Political prisoners and civilian
And
activists. Political prisoner and non-political and civilian activists. Activists.
political prisoners and civilian activists.
Prisoners.
And civilian activists.
Being detained. Detained.
Is that right?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, no other changes. So to revise the first part, to request assistance in bringing about the reduction of tension, etc., etc. Any objections to that? Okay, 1, 2, no objections. Adopted. Adopted. Okay. Okay, in the meantime, political prisoners, the addition of the word civilian activists. Civilian activists. Any objections? 1, 2, adopted. Clause 8. Yes? Mm-hmm.
To be released.
I don't think so. That political prisoners be released. I think that's correct. Okay. We retain it. Okay, thank you. Okay. Where are we? 8. Condemns the use of live ammunition and other banned weapons according to the Geneva Protocol on protesters as it is unacceptable. Objections? 1, 2, okay. Changes. Yeah, Norway.
The delegation of Norway thinks will change the word of condemns to rejects.
Changing condemns to rejects. Okay, before that, Indonesia.
Would like to add the use of according to the Geneva Protocol, Rome stated Article 52. Article 52 of Rome Statute. Okay, sorry, delayed. International humanitarian law. Sorry, gue lupa ini. Okay. According to international humanitarian and the Geneva Conventions. And the Geneva Conventions, okay. Comma and the, okay. D-nya, there is double D right there, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We make more amendments.
Yes?
We would like to amend the Geneva Conventions.
Geneva Convention and its additional protocol. Is that correct? Protocols. Okay, thank you. Okay, no other changes. So we first to change the word condemns to rejects. Condemns to rejects. Any objections? Vetoed. Okay. Next, to add the word international humanitarian law. Any objections? 1, 2, adopted. To add to change it to Geneva Convention and its additional protocols. Any objections to this? 1, 2, adopted. Clause 9. Lifts the state of emergency before February 2022 and considering electing the new interim civilian government to be enforced. A. Security Council welcomes any possibilities of re-election with the consultation between the United Nations, ASEAN, and the Myanmar civilian government parties, as well as reinstatement of the previous civilian government led by Aung San Suu Kyi. Until this point, A, any changes? Yes, USA. lift, urges the state of emergency, urges to lift. Okay. Any other changes? 1, 2, no other changes. Adopted until Part A. Part B, Junta shall remain in non-offensive posture and able to participate in the election following the provision of Myanmar's constitution. However, any extraordinary measures that are being implemented by Junta shall be reported to the Security Council. Any changes for B? Yes. Extraordinary and violent. Violence or violent? With CE? Okay, and violent measures. Any other changes? 1, 2, okay, to add the word and violent, extraordinary and violent measures. Any objections? 1, 2, adopted. C, condemns and prohibits the exercise of armed conflicts by junta under the disguised means of self-defense. Any changes? 1, 2, no changes, adopted. Clause 10 encourages. How many more clauses? No, I think it's like 2 more. Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. I can do it. Okay. Clause 10 encourages the United Nations Secretary General to presenting regular written reports on matters taken by it, make recommendations for further enhancing cooperation between the United Nations and regional and sub-regional organizations in promoting confidence building, conflict de-escalation, and consecutive mediation where appropriate. A, this is based on the stipulation of the previously adopted presidential statement of the Security Council. And B, the provisions will be observed and carefully assessed by the United Nations high-level dialogues on disarmament. Can you scroll up a little bit to see the number 10 first line? Okay, okay. Any changes to this one? Number 10. 1, 2. Okay, sure. United Nations and capital G for general. Okay. Is that all? Any other changes? None. Since this is grammatical, it is adopted. Okay. Moving on to clause 11. Urges Myanmar to solve this particular issue by themselves and minimize any additional intervention crisis in the process. A, encourages external forces to respect the sovereignty of Myanmar in every manner of their operation, should they be deployed. B, builds case files to facilitate criminal trials to hold those responsible to account in national courts that will be observed by the International Committee of Red Cross, ICRC, for its check and balances. Up till point B, are there any changes? Yes, in India. Deletion of the whole clause, okay. Whole clause until D? Okay. Any other changes? None? Okay. Yes? Sorry, which one? Which one? Will be observed and further observed and further collaborating with the D. Okay. So the first degree, the strike through first, right? Okay. Consensus to strike the whole of clause 11. Any objections? China vetoes. Okay. So, wait, DPPA, where's DPPA? Okay. Further collaboration. For coherence sake, could we also add, like, what is the DPPA? So, like, department, blah, 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 and then in brackets. Okay, never. All right. To add and further collaboration with DPPA for why is it judicial? Okay, for its judicial check. Any objections? 1, 2, no objections. Adopted. C, implementation. Wait. Yeah, we haven't reached C. Implementation of the three-phase proposal in the manners of such as, in quotation marks, cessation of violence, repatriation, and development. D, encourages an open dialogue between the military regime and other member states or any related parties. Any changes? 1, 2, yeah. An open D, in D. Encourages an open dialogue and mediation. Okay. Any other changes? Going once. Okay, Myanmar. Into? And the typo. Okay, ending. Any other changes? Going once, going twice, no other changes. Okay, to change the word cessation to ending violence. Any objections to this change? 1, 2, no changes, adopted. And no, the mediation hasn't been. Yeah. To add the word mediation after dialogue, so open dialogue and mediation between military regime, etc. Any objections to this change? To add the word mediation, 1, 2, no changes, adopted. Space between the media, yeah. Okay, clause 12. Recommends the implementation of 2021 Myanmar Political Agreement, which will be provisioned as follows. A, establishes the temporary political panel of leadership between junta, civilian government, and the United Nations Special Envoy that will be obligated to report and consult to the Security Council for the possibility of constitutional amendments. Until point A, any changes? 1, 2, okay, A is set. B, recommends the implementation of the trust building measure as the main approach in reducing the trust deficit among parties and encouraging inclusive political actions without any prejudices or false pretenses. For B, any changes? 1, 2, no changes. C, restore Myanmar trade and economic cooperation if the conflicting parties comply to the provision, and this shall be accommodated by the withdrawal of current sanction that was placed before this resolution is adopted. Any changes for C? Yes, Indonesia. Accommodated by lifting. Wait.
Lifting autonomous sanctions and the withdrawal of current.
And sanction.
This clause means that if this resolution, in case this resolution is adopted, then sanction placed by the European Union also,
Switzerland, USA.
Yeah, Switzerland, USA will be also lifted at the same time.
Okay. Lifting autonomous sanctions.
Autonomous sanctions.
Yeah, and the withdrawal of the sanctions.
Oh yeah, sanctions and sanctions.
Lifting and withdrawing. Is it supposed to be like that? Because it's already ing.
Just clarify autonomous.
Okay.
Autonomous. I mean, like, what's autonomous sanction?
It's the sanctions given by the bilateral cooperation, like one country to another country. It's not like the sanctions that's using by the UN itself.
Okay, so one country.
Because you know that Myanmar already had many assets in other related countries, so by this clause, just like what stated by Jus, so your country need to lift the sanctions given to Myanmar.
Yeah.
If this passes.
So sanctions from a country, not sanctions from the UN. Accommodate by lifting this. Where is it? Lifting this autonomous, and it should be withdrawing in this case, like grammatically. lifting the autonomous and withdrawing, is it? Anyone? Withdrawal? Okay. By lifting the autonomous and the withdrawal of current sanctions, etc. Any objection to this change? 1, 2, USA. Okay. But we should keep the S, current sanctions, okay. 13, calls on all parties concerned to seek a peaceful solution through constructive dialogue and practical reconciliation in the interest of the people and their livelihood. Any changes for this one? 1, 2, adopted. Last one, decides seize on all matters. There should be no. Adopted.
We'll be moving to the next agenda item. I'll be taking the floor directly so we can be faster and have lunch. Thank you, Madam Vice President. Yeah. So because the room usage will end at 1, so we cannot have our break now. We just have to finish. After the competing resolution, we'll be voting. That's it. And in closing statement, that's it. Done. We're done for the day. So the competing resolution will be inviting all of the sponsors to speak on the respective table to once again encourage everyone to kindly like promote their draft resolution and the others. And after that, 1 minute per speaker. After that, we'll be proceeding to the short of 3 minutes unmoderated caucus for each sponsors. 3 minutes unmoderated caucus for the council to negotiate last time before the voting, because this is crucial. And then after that, we'll be voting directly. Okay. Now we'll be where's the gavel? We'll be moving to the next agenda item, which is the competing draft resolution. I'll now be calling this council to move into the formal proceeding again. And yeah. It's made in China. Okay. So we'll be now doing the competing resolution itself. We are now inviting the party of the draft resolution document S/2021/25X/1, which is a draft resolution submitted by the delegation of India and the United States of America. We would like to invite the Excellencies, the Ambassador of the United States of America to the United Nations, Mr. Hafiz, from their table to sit down and then give their statements on the competing draft resolution. Thank you. You have 1 minute. Your 1 minute starts. Can someone turn this off? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. As the sponsors of the first draft resolution that supports the implementation of sanctions on the military junta on Myanmar that caused the escalation of the conflict, we believe that our draft resolution, along with our partner, with India and our allies that we have drafted together, should be supported and voted later on, because we believe that sanctions is one of the measures that we believe can add the pressure to the military junta and help the people of Myanmar restore their old government and also restore democracy, and that is what we believe. Democracy for all, and also the restoration of freedom for the people of Myanmar itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll be proceeding to the next speaker, which is the delegation of India, Republic of India. You may have the floor.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates. Namaste. The delegate of India would like to restate that the draft resolution that we have made definitely fits the agenda of crisis solving in Myanmar. We believe that the solutions of sanction, the solution of targeted sanctions towards these personals are definitely what is necessary when it comes to fighting the crisis itself. We invite all member states of Security Council to consider, to accept our draft resolution. Listen from your heart. Listen from your logical thinking. Okay, if we sit idly by, the resolution would not, the conflict would not be solved. And we once again would like to say that the delegate of India always believes in the freedom of Myanmar, and this is the way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll be moving to the document S/2021/256X/2, a draft resolution submitted sponsored by the representative of China and the Indonesia. I will now take the floor as representative of Indonesia. Thank you, Madam and Mr. Vice President, and all distinguished delegates. Good afternoon. Indonesia would like to promote one thing in this August Council, which is the promotion of inclusive political solution. Unnecessary sanction will just lead into another exacerbation and will just lead into another disaster. We've seen that the draft resolution submitted by India and US contain harmful solutions that should not be adopted. Therefore, vote for our draft resolution and reject US and India draft resolution. Indonesia maintains a collaborative strategic outlook in this matter, and we are looking forward to collaborate with everyone. Therefore, this solution is the most suitable one, hence, this is the most inclusive one. Remember that we are putting Myanmar first, not our interests. Thank you very much. Your vote will reflect what we are doing right now, and please remember that Indonesia is one of the contributors to the United Nations funding. Thank you. Now I will continue the floor as the President of the Security Council. I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Faisal Rahman Xi Jinping. You may have the floor.
谢谢我的印度的朋友。Thank you, Mr. Vice President of the Security Councils and fellow delegates. In addition to what has been stated by the delegate of Indonesia, we are trying our best efforts right here to put an end into the political crisis that happened in Myanmar. And in our draft resolutions, in our recent changes, thanks to the amendments, we are succeeded to make an embargo to the junta military, just in case, in order to dampen their effects, so their effects will not to be spreaded and made a spillover. And that is our intention, to ask to the bloc of the United States and India who are supporting of the sanctions. We have one sanctions in our resolutions. We have one sanction. That is our way to accommodate yours. So please vote for us. Your vote matters. 谢谢。
谢谢。Yang kuai le, gong si fa choi. Thank you, China. Now we'll be moving to the last part, which is the negotiation before voting. We are giving you guys 3 minutes. You may gather with your respective allies to strategize your vote. So yeah, the unmod starts now. You are now in retreat. So non-sanctioned power, please come here. Non-sanctioned. So you have to accept any yeses, and for the foreign member of the Security Council for United States, if you members with me, I have to
30 seconds. Ten, nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time has elapsed. Mr. President, please return to your seat. Delegates, delegates. Mr. President, delegates, please return to your seats. Thank you. Okay.
Remember that US will vote in favor if you have oil, remember. Why this Saudi Arabia flag is? Okay, we are now going to proceed to the voting. I would like to, maybe perhaps the people in the camera would like to record the voting. His study will shows how hypocrite we are if we are failing to vote on the draft resolution. Okay, thank you. And now we'll be proceeding to the next agenda item. The Security Council have before it a document, and hereby the Republic of Indonesia, the presidents of the Security Council, Indonesia would like to order that our resolution will be voted first. So draft resolution S/256X/2 is sponsored by Indonesia and China, will be voted first. So yeah, we'll be using raising hands, okay? So the Security Council have before them a document S/256X/2, sponsored, a draft resolution sponsored by the Republic of Indonesia and the People's Republic of China. The Council will now move into a voting procedure. Those member states, except Myanmar, you are not allowed to vote in the draft resolution, yeah? Thank you, Myanmar. Those countries who are in favor to the draft resolution S/256X/2, sponsored by China and Indonesia, please just raise your hand without the placard. If you are in favor to the draft resolution submitted by Indonesia and China, please raise your hand. And my hand. 6 votes, thank you. Those against, please raise your hand. How many? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 8. Thank you. Any abstention? Any abstention? With a total of 6 votes in favor and 8 votes against, this draft resolution is not being adopted owing to the negative vote from a permanent member of the Security Council. We'll now be proceeding to the next document we have before it, a document S/256X/1, a draft resolution submitted by the representative of United States of America and India. Those countries who are voting in favor for this draft resolution, please raise your hand. Thank you. Those against? Six. Any abstention? With 8 votes in favor and 6 votes against, this draft resolution still failed owing to the negative vote from permanent member of the Security Council. And now we'll be moving to the statement session. Indonesia would like to take the floor first. I will now proceed to my capacity as representative of Indonesia. Thank you, Mr. and Madam Vice President and all distinguished delegates. We have seen that our draft resolution has failed. And again, this council is a hypocrite. We have two countries who are singled out for an attack in the Security Council, namely Indonesia and China. We are being singled out by the Western countries who tend to be player of the Southeast Asia. You are no representation of the Southeast Asian people, and stop fantasizing of being one.
And I would like to add that this council is still emerging the geopolitical status in the ASEAN region without contemplating our ASEAN ways. So Indonesia, with this being so disappointment of the rules of this council, the role of this council that could bring a peace and stability in Myanmar itself. We all know that regional instability could bring harmful measures to the global levels. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now proceed to my capacity as the President of the Republic of Indonesia. We will proceed to Belgium. You have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Honorable Chairs and Delegates, as no draft resolutions are adopted today, the Kingdom of Belgium believes that as the conflict still and will escalate in Myanmar, we have to come up with a plan of discussion another time to come up with the middle ground solutions of this matter. I really appreciate the attentions of all member states to join this discussion to make solutions on Myanmar conflict. Nevertheless, I hope in the next meeting we can present a more comprehensive discussion and lead to universally accepted solutions by all member states. Thank you.
Thank you, Belgium. Next on to China.
Thank you so much for all of you who have been attending this very council. Thank you to Mr. Vice President and also the President itself of the Security Council for holding this such frustrating meeting. It's so unfortunate that we are not able to pass any resolutions. It means that we are not making any meaningful progresses to the people of Myanmar, and we are really just enjoying our front seat watching the junta military continues their reign in the people of Myanmar. Hopefully we will be better next time if there would be the next meeting about this particular issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of China. Next to speak, Delegate of Estonia. Floor is yours.
Good morning, Chair and fellow delegates. Republic of Estonia is still standing on the non-sanctioned countries because the delegate of Estonia believe there is no sanction solution to solve this problem. Estonia is worried about that sanction will make this conflict is getting worse. Estonia learned from the sanction imposed by Western countries on Iraq, Libya, and Iran, and the sanction do not make them weaker, but they are increasingly carrying out attacks such as Iran proxy war in Yemen, and then Libya, which eventually intervention by Western country, is getting worse by the civil war, and based on these things, the delegate of Estonia thinks and believes that non-sanction solution is the best way to solve the problem in Myanmar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate of Estonia. Next to speak, Delegate of France. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman and honorable delegates. Although no resolution have been passed, we, the French government, appreciate all argument by other delegates, for it could be useful information for future meeting of Security Council. But of course, the French government expect other or possible solution for the current crisis, for a swift solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of France. Next to speak, Delegate of India.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Mr. President, distinguished delegates. The delegate of India is deeply, deeply disappointed. We thought the UN Security Council was supposed to bring peace and stability to the world. We thought that we in the Security Council were supposed to fight for the oppressed people. And yet, the lack of consensus in this council happened anyway. Why? Because there are some member states among us that don't have the courage, don't have the guts to do what's right, don't have what it takes to actually solve the problem. Of course, we hope in the next meeting, the fate of Myanmar people would be decided, and for the better, of course. Thank you, and we hope that the world will be a better place soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of India. Next to speak, Delegate of Ireland. Ireland not here. Next to speak, okay. Proceed to Delegate of Kenya.
Thank you, Mr. Madam President. First, we would like to thank to all delegates for their efforts to make such amazing resolution. And for the Myanmar crisis, the most important thing is the safety of the civilians and to stop the violence. Even though there is no DR that pass, acts still have to take. And in the meantime, we support whatever Myanmar and other parties do to overcome this conflict, though we still encourage Myanmar to reconsider the sanctions to be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Kenya. Next to speak, Delegate of Myanmar.
The delegate of Myanmar has only a few things to say. One thing is that this council is nothing more than a disappointment in the highest level. We have spent 2 exhausting days and have nothing to show for it. As we are talking about what we can or we cannot do, what we should or shouldn't do, is it propaganda or not, should there be sanctions or not, the people of Myanmar is suffering. To those countries that said they have the best for Myanmar are hypocrites. The UNSC is only as good as their members. You can talk about courage, bravery, and all of that all you want, but when your citizens get murdered, get violated day in and day out, as the number of corpses goes up, courage and bravery means nothing. In the end, this council only produces nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Myanmar. Next to speak, Delegate of Niger.
We want to appreciate all solutions that are proposed by all countries. Unfortunately, we don't pass any resolutions at this council right now. Even though the resolution about the sanction towards the junta military could be the way for the crisis that bonds them, so there will be no more violation towards human rights in Myanmar, especially for the people. Well, whatever it takes, delegates, whatever it takes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to speak, Delegate of Norway.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President of Council. The Kingdom of Norway highly appreciates the step of the non-sanction bloc, especially China and Indonesia, not to profit repressive action against the Myanmar government. But we have always believed that civil and military government are sinful. However, Norway believes that with the sanctions, the Myanmar government can be more deterrent and restore humanity to its people. We agree with Indonesia's statement that our fraction, the United States and India, do not represent ASEAN, but we believe that the solution of the 2 countries is the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Norway. Next to speak, Delegate of Russia.
Okay, because there is no draft resolution that adopted, it only make the problem in Myanmar take too long to be resolved. Federation of Russia disappointed with the country that didn't vote for anti-sanction draft resolution. Federation of Russia still believe anti-sanction draft resolution is the best solution for solve problem in Myanmar. Federation of Russia hope in the next meeting in this council can get solution to solve
problem in Myanmar. Federation of Russia really hope for the good of Myanmar country. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, St. Vincent.
Okay, thank you, Chair and distinguished delegate. We are highly appreciate all of the resolutions today. But as the smallest country, as CGR said, because this council couldn't make a change for Myanmar, we are failed for maintaining peace and stability in Myanmar. SCG is still emphasizing its willingness to foster international cooperation within member states in order to find a way how to improve the situations of Myanmar. Thank you.
Thank you, St. Vincent. Next to speak, delegate of UK.
Thank you, Chair and honorable delegates. Based on statement from Indonesia which says that our country or our bloc doesn't reflect Southeast Asia at all, it is totally wrong. Therefore, our duty as a part of the member of the UN Security Council, which has the task of the maintaining international peace and security. Our goal is only to resolve the current crisis in Myanmar as soon as possible. We have no intention of intervening in the sovereignty of Myanmar or South Asia. In addition, we believe that problems like this can only be solved by countries with sufficient power like us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, USA.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon. Well, it is very not surprising that the fact that no draft resolutions has passed, it's because the differences that we have in the Security Council. But there is another problem. But the fact is that, yeah, we see that differences are normal things, but we still believe that sanctions is one of the best solutions because, once again, we believe that the current military junta in Myanmar is not the legitimate government, and we will always support the government that was overthrown as the legitimate government of Myanmar. Thank you.
Thank you. Last to speak, Vietnam.
Okay, the delegates of Vietnam see this meeting as failed, proving that in the end, we're still unable to bring peace and stability towards Myanmar, not even less. In the end, Vietnam still emphasized and urged to all members of the council in putting efforts promoting the problem solving through dialogues and seeking solution for bloc's member state. We still remind that this has happened of the force of the sanctioned bloc, even in fact there are contradictive in sanctioned bloc resolution, which is to emphasize the regional members, but also urging us to violate our own pact between our neighboring countries. Remember, as the delegates of Indonesia have stated before, you are not the representative of Asian, and you have the least of right to determine how our community to act, or even how our community to be judged. We're really looking forward to a better progression at the upcoming summit. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate of Vietnam.
We will now be accepting one motion, which is to adjourn the meeting. The meeting is now adjourned. Clapping for your disgrace is now in order. Okay, now you can take your lunch, but please, after you take your lunch, don't go home, because after the lunch, we'll be having awarding ceremony in 20 minutes. We'll be having closing ceremony in 20 minutes, so you have 20 minutes to enjoy your food. After that, you can go home after the awarding. Yeah, okay, please take your lunch. Cheers, let's go decide the